Hey guys, sorry for the delay. I was having tech issues galore because that is this day, and I'm so sorry. We're also running a little behind. I wanted to have this done about 2 or 3 p.m. Central Standard Time today, but I had an appointment that just seemed to go on forever today. So, forgive me for I have failed this city. But we are here for Arrowverse Wednesday, finally. By the grace of everyone, this will not die on me stream wise. So we can get through our 3 shows that we need to talk about. We got Legends of Tomorrow, we have The Flash, and we have Superman and Lois. And all 3 were pretty entertaining this week. So let's start with Legends of Tomorrow. So it's Bayrod's birthday. Nobody remembered it was his birthday, not even his sister. They basically have a mission where they're going back in time. They're trying to find, of course, another alien. And they end up going to a recording in the future, which is really Bayrod's past, for one of his favorite shows. And he thinks initially that it's a surprise for him because, it's his birthday. And of course, they would never forget his birthday. So, Sarah and them feel kind of guilty. So, of course, Zari, and the rest of the team, except for Spooner and Sarah and Ava, who's back on the ship, kind of play along with it. It's very interesting. This is a very baby themed episode. Like we learned in this episode that for some reason Mick has not seen his daughter in a few years. No contact, no communication, something wacky with the timeline, and she ends up being pregnant out of wedlock. And I love when Mick finds out, he's like, you got pregnant, without being married. She's like, yeah, like you and mom. He said, well, that was conception. And I'm like, it's so stupid. Realizing in the episode that Bayrod just turned 25 has severely aged me, considering I'm like literally almost 20 years older than him. So I was like, oh, these shows age me week by week, guys. But all right, so what was interesting about this episode, besides the pregnancy, is there are 2 actual pregnancies in this episode, which we'll get to in a minute. The whole timeline with the alien, them trying to figure out how to deal with it, and this little cute furry, look like a little fur baby, pink alien, has to bond with someone, and it ends up bonding with, basically one of the talent in the show. And so there's basically 2 brothers that are doing Bayrod's favorite show. It's basically about a guy who doesn't want to follow the norms and work in the family business and wants to like spin records and literally, or be a DJ basically, and just get high all the time. Bayrod's dream, because that's what Bayrod does. Bayrod is a space pothead, a futuristic pothead. But there's so much more to him, and then he's really, really lovable. So that's why everyone, likes Bayrod. But as they keep messing with time in this episode, meaning they do things that keep altering the course of how the television show is moving, Bayrod starts changing, and he becomes like one of these corporate like dicks. Basically, he's not nice. It's so interesting to see, because Astra at first was kind of getting turned on by him, because we all know that Bayrod has a thing for Astra. And Astra was kind of like reciprocating it for a minute, but then the more things started altering, like Bayrod's hair was like clean cut. He was wearing like tailored suits, like Armani clothes. Like he was just completely different, like a monster of his former self. And so they basically had to convince the lead of the TV show that Bayrod likes to not give up and not sell out by, including this baby alien that they discovered in the actual plot, and by going back to, his own material, which they know is going to get canceled. His show is going to get canceled because it's not that funny to most people, but it made Bayrod basically who he was. It showed Bayrod that he didn't have to be what his parents, expected him to be. He can go off and do whatever he wanted. So it's really interesting how his life evolved. Just watching the timeline, and the alien messed up, pretty much messes up the timeline. Another notable thing is we got to see Zari 1.0 because it is Bayrod's birthday. Zari 2.0 allowed herself to go into the totem and spend 2 weeks there so that Zari 1.0 could come out and attend Bayrod's birthday, which I thought was very mature of her, considering she didn't even remember it was her brother's birthday, and Zari 1.0 did. And if you listen to how Zari 2.0 talks about Zari 1.0, she definitely has a bit of an inferiority complex with her already. So I found that to be interesting. I'm trying to see how that plays out, because I'm still not certain that this is a permanent thing. I kind of feel like one of them's going to have to exist, or the other is going to have to, disappear, whatever. You can't have two, even though one's in the totem realm, whatever, and one of the one's on the Wave Rider. I think something's going to they're either going to have to merge, or one of them's going to have to disappear. And so I'm really curious to see how that turns out. All right, so let's get to the crazy stuff. If that wasn't crazy enough. Mick. So Mick has been in his feelings. Like, he's been emotional. He's been having issues. And I knew Gary was like, Gary was talking to him, and, Mick went to go see the guy that knocked up his daughter. And at first Sarah's like, well, no, I'm a trained assassin. He's not going to talk to your boyfriend. He's going to kill him. And so everyone's like, oh my gosh, he's going to go and kill, Lita's boyfriend. Well, turns out he actually went to kill him and then got in his feelings, and they bonded. And so basically the guy who is the boyfriend of Lita is kind of like this Bayrod, but more hippie type. So he's like very, they want to cohabitate. They want to, they believe in eco sharing and farming and, saving he's a pacifist. And so him and Mick end up bonding and hugging. And so that's when Sarah's like, yeah, this is not right. And Gary was like talking to him, they're all looking at him like something's wrong with him, because he is acting weird. And when they start talking, Mick starts talking about how he, or actually the boyfriend mentions that Mick talks about how he was in a situation that was similar, and that how he lost love, and he was talking about Kayla. And so Gary is like, wait a minute, did you and Kayla do it? And were tentacles involved? And Mick was like, yeah. And Gary gets this weird look on his face, and I'm like, oh no, what does that mean in alien world? And come to find out, what happened was, when they were doing it, she stuck her tentacle in his ear and laid eggs in Mick's brain. Guys, Legends of Tomorrow is completely on crack. Like, completely on crack. So let me define what I mean by this. I have created what I call Angry Grandma to help me cope with all of the Arrowverse. You're going to see this come into play in the other reviews. I use Angry Grandma as an example of what should have happened in lieu of what actually happened, and how situations were handled in Arrowverse. I don't have to use Angry Grandma in this, because it is so on crack. I don't have to mess with it. Mick being pregnant and having eggs laid in his brain, that is completely, I literally am not shocked by this scenario whatsoever. I mean, why not? Sarah's an alien hybrid. Ava's a clone. Zari 1.0 stuck in the totem. Bayrod's high all of the time. Constantine's running around the world trying to get his powers back. Astra came from hell. I mean, if you really think about everybody's backstory, Spooner is an alien abductee victim and who can channel and talk to aliens. So just literally having Mick be pregnant in his brain, or in his head, which I think in the preview they showed it was in the back of it. They're going to come out the back of it. No, that's just horrifying. As someone who's gone through childbirth, I can't even imagine that. It doesn't shock me. It does not shock me. So yes, Mick is pregnant. If you take nothing away from this little recap, Mick is pregnant by Kayla, who is MIA, who got left behind. And Mick is like he is emotional. He's like crying. I mean, oh my gosh. So yeah, but Mick is pregnant. So yes, the whole thing with Bud, I think it was called Bud Stay or whatever what name of the show was, that Bayrod was really into. Getting to see Bayrod experience that and have his little birthday moment, and seeing what he would be like if he wasn't so laid back and high all the time. That was great. having Nick go on audition for the show to try and go undercover to get the alien and actually say in the middle of his audition, is this going to air on the CW? Classic. It's classic crack. They break the fourth wall every freaking time in Legends of Tomorrow. They literally call themselves out when they are in a crossover. So, I mean, nothing shocks me with Legends of Tomorrow, but Mick being pregnant by having eggs laid in his head. I mean, that's Legends of Tomorrow for you. There's no connecting plot point to any other Arrowverse show. There's no connecting plot point to a DCEU show. It is just Legends universe. And you know what? I'm completely okay with that. So yes, Mick is pregnant in his brain. His daughter is also pregnant. They may actually go into labor at the same time because we don't know the gestation period of an alien laying eggs in your head. Hence the term of pregnancy in a human would be, because more than likely they've never impregnated a human with the type of alien that Gary and Kayla are. So it's a thing, guys. All right, so let's look at some stuff really quickly. Hi, Latino Mercenary. How are you? Hi, Ruby. Hi, Ryan. Hi, Chastin. How you doing, lady? Job George. Let's see. I see Ryan's like a new episode of Charm this Friday. I hope they don't get rid of Poppy, but Poppy isn't in the finale. That will be my Friday. That will be my Friday. I need to know how many illnesses, how many lines the lot director snorted like now. That's a good question, actually. You really can't write this stuff, except you can. Yeah, it's literally like if you took these characters and wrote a parody fanfic, this is literally the script. I love it. There's just no way. I mean, it's Legends. Where are the babies going to come out of? Laugh out loud. His armpits. God, I hope not. I mean, they showed in the trailer, they had like in the back of his neck, it looked like something out of Alien, like a little, I don't know. It just looks weird. It just looks really, really messed up. Also, if you watch that new show, Wellington Paranormal, they also have something like that going on too. But yeah. He's going to give birth to the baby the way Zeus gave birth to Athena out of his head. I'm telling you. Lord. Oh, Mick, why? Why, Mick? Why? Oh, we don't need to let this Arrowverse mess ruin my Legends. No, we don't. We absolutely don't. Are you going to do an Abby Mel video for Approach to Yuri? I absolutely am going to do an Abby Mel video. I'm going to do an Abby Mel video. I'm probably going to do a Casey and Izzy video from Atypical. There's a lot of couples that I'm going to do videos for. So yes, that is happening, which is really interesting because I was just talking about that yesterday with my spouse. I need to do an Abby Mel video from my Approach to Yuri channel. That's really weird. All right. So we can always come back to this. Let's jump into The Flash, because I know everybody wants to talk about The Flash, because The Flash is basically stepping up their 2-part premiere. They've decided to bring in another child, and that child is, of course, Bart, which, you know, I've already talked about this in my other stream. If you are a comic book fan, you know that Bart and Jenny, who is actually XS in the comics, were cousins, and they were the grandchildren of Barry and Iris. So I really guess we're not getting Dawn and Dawn at all. So they're just not going to be a thing. I don't know why, but you know, it's a thing. Now I will say everybody was giving heat to Bart. I was like looking at Reddit. I was looking at some comments and Superhero Hype and different boards, and people were like, "Oh my God, he looks like a doofus," and "Oh my God, he looks like he's not going to be good." I actually thought Bart was a good cast. The actor for Bart was really well done. He is literally a hybrid between the stupid decisions that Barry makes and Iris, literally her investigative journalist, sometimes putting her nose where she shouldn't, getting herself into trouble type, cross. So that's literally the characteristics that he got from both. Now, if you look at Nora is straight up, actually, I'm going to be real with you. Nora reminds me of Joe. She got granddaddy's genes. She didn't get mommy and daddy's genes. She got granddaddy's genes. So, but it is supposed to be a different Nora, who apparently is going to be 30 in 4 years. I mean, like, I love how she's like, I'm going to be 30 in 4 years. Like, child, please. Now let me get to before we go into this review, let us talk about my angry grandma. So angry grandma is the character that appears out of nowhere in an Arrowverse show, pops out her imaginary earrings, and she's ready to fight. You're going to hear me reference angry grandma a lot because she is who I have created to cope with plots. So angry grandma, that is a thing for Arrowverse Wednesday. So remember the end of last episode, Barry was in his feelings because Iris is popping in and out of time and he doesn't know how to stop all these Godspeed clones, and August doesn't know who the hell he is, and Barry's like, and so then of course the new Nora West Allen excess shows up, and then her brother, who I think is 19, and they're not twins, he's younger, so she's the older sister, literally show up. And I do like their relationship. I love how they're like, look, mom and dad, you've known us for like an hour. Like, we've known each other for 19 years. So you're going to have to, So yeah, I definitely like the siblings dynamic. It's just so interesting that Barry and Iris are just so accepting of all their children. I mean, I guess it makes sense. They keep having kids. They got forces that are kids. They've had a daughter and she's gone. Now they've got the same daughter, but basically a different version of the same daughter, and now a son. I mean, at this point, 6 or 7 more kids can pop up and they'll be like, wow, we were busy. And that's literally the only reaction that you will get. They are implying, though, that the reason that Iris is phasing in and out of time is because she's pregnant, which would explain her negative pregnancy test, because if she's phasing in and out, and depending on when she did the urine sample, maybe her pregnancy was zooming in and out too. It's a speedster. She's pregnant with a speedster. So, I mean, there's no real literature on this. When a human's pregnant with a speedster child, what does that actually mean? So anyway, but somehow Dion's is able to stabilize Iris enough that she can come in, and basically she is able to be on their timeline with them conveniently for the 2-part season finale. So she's able to be there. And so we have Impulse and Excess meeting mom and dad. I loved how they met Cecile. When they saw Cecile, like, Grandma Cecile or whatever. And she's like, I feel so much love from you. But it's almost like everybody's like, oh, this is happening again. It's so Chibiusa and Sailor Moon. It's like another child just came from the future. It's actually really funny to me. All right. So now we're going to talk about, and I know you guys are writing comments. I can't see them right now because I have my notes up, but I will go back when we're done with the flash review, and then we'll kind of backtrack on the comments, just like we do every Arrowverse Wednesday. So in the episode, we learned that Jay Garrett, first of all, has been able to get his speed back. So he's got his speed back. We also learned that August is basically the Thawne for Bart. And we learned this because, of course, Bart's talking about how he wants to fight. And he's like, of course, Barry does this thing where he's like trying to ground him. And he's like, but he's my Thawne. And he's like, Barry like got in his feelings. He's like, don't just be throwing that around. I mean, Thawne killed my mother. He traumatized my life. And, you don't know what that's like. And then Bart like slams his hand down and says, I do know what that's like. And I'm like, you saw that reaction right there? That's angry grandma. That's what happens. That is angry grandma. Grandma is the one that pulls off those earrings. She's like, let me tell you something. And so that is my first angry grandma moment right there. Bart was inhabited by my angry grandma, who let Barry know to stay in his lane. He's like, I'm gonna let you know something. You don't own trauma, baby. I'm like, angry grandma. Now I noticed that this happened a lot throughout the course of this episode. Iris and Barry were being parental and trying to basically keep Bart from fighting, especially since all of the Godspeeds are only targeting him. But we learned that Jay Garrick was literally the only person that Bart felt understood him. Like, he's impulsive, and he's random. He jumps first. That's what he does. And he's like, nobody else understands that. And I kept thinking in my head, but Barry's like that all the damn time. Like, Barry's the always like that. Barry's like, I have to do this. I got to fix this. I got to go do this. And just like whenever anyone says anything about the timeline, no, your first rule of our family is don't mess up the timeline. And I'm like, so that's just in this episode, right? And I'm like, angry grandma. Like, anyway, so Godspeeds start attacking. This is what's really messed up. So they apparently killed Jay Garrick in Bart's future. So he's trying to prevent it from happening in the past, therefore not going through the trauma in the future. But he can't tell Barry and Iris because they can't know about the future. So only XS and him know what actually happened. So long story short, with Bart, he does get grounded for a minute. Him and his sister have a heart-to-heart. Well, XS and Barry were getting their butts kicked. He basically decides he's going to join in on the fun. He's able to phase where he's invisible. But, Impulse has a different set of powers anyway in the comics. So, I mean, that's nothing. But he basically walks right into a trap that he knows is a trap because they actually have Jay Garrick. Now, this is where Angry Grandma has to come out again. So Barry is basically surrounded by all of these Godspeed clones. One of them is lifting him up and taking his speed, like literally killing him. And that's very comic accurate because Godspeed literally would kill people when he took their speed, not like Barry and the others did in the comics when they learned how to do it. So he's dying. Barry and XS, they show up and they stand there for at least 5 minutes with that like this. And I'm like, and Angry Grandma would have been like, you kind of hurt my baby. And I'm like, Angry Grandma would have come out and been whooping on some clones. Hey, that's the difference between Angry Grandma and Barry Allen as a parent. Like, Barry Allen as a parent has very delayed reactions. Angry Grandma would have came in pouncing. So that's why Angry Grandma is needed in the Arrowverse, because these people are stupid. If that had been my child, you don't know who I am. So I don't understand why they stood there for so long. They literally stood there looking at him get drained to the point where he was put into a freaking coma. Because they took so long. They took so long. Like, I don't. Oh, guys. Now we did the cool scene though at the beginning of this. We did get to see how XS was chasing Godspeed, and then she thought she got him with her whip. She has this cool lightning whip. And then, he basically was recharging. He was coming back at her. And then you see Impulse phase through, his body, which Barry actually does later on in the episode. He gets it from his son. So I did like that. I do love that we got to see August go to the Flash Museum and use the treadmill. That is very cool. Very comic book. I got comic book feels from that. So that was cool. I don't understand why they just stared at Bart. They just stared at him. I'm like, you could play it in slow-mo and it would have actually, if you think about it, had the same, like if you freeze it and played it frame by frame and then watch the episode, it would have been the same runtime. And they were slow as hell. I don't get that at all. Then I felt like another Angry Grandma moment in this was Allegra. Now, to be fair, she didn't tell anybody that, Esperanza's dead. She's like in her feelings about it, feeling guilty that she didn't help her cousin and her cousin was murdered, basically. But she's not telling anybody. Like Chester even was like, oh, Allegra was saying goodbye to Ultraviolet or to Esperanza, but she didn't say anything. Like she didn't say, my cousin was killed. I may need some time off to deal with the trauma. I feel bad. She just was like, nothing's wrong. Everything's fine. Nothing's wrong. And then it's like really, really short. She started calling Chester instead of Chuck, and that's how he knew something was up with her. He's like, you don't call me Chester. So she's not dealing with her feelings, and it's affecting her powers, because now she's giving out ultraviolet light instead of basically her normal power set, which she needed to have to help charge the device that Chester came up with to try and incapacitate the speedsters, which is fine because we got our boy Cisco. Because Cisco can't stay away. Cisco came back for the season finale. So we have Chester working on this device called the SEE. And then we have Cisco rolling in, and he's got his what do you call it? Oh, what was it called? The gauntlets he uses that are able to incapacitate. It's the same type of prototype that they used in the previous episode when they froze the one Godspeed. He came in with like modified gauntlets that allowed him to incapacitate it. But he even pointed out the stronger they get recharge wise, the less time they're going to be incapacitated. So it's not a fix. It's a temporary solution. And I thought it was great that he did come in because neither Barry nor Chester thought about the fact that since Allegra could not charge the SCE, that, Barry ended up doing it. He actually charged it with Speed Force energy, which meant the Godspeed clones could automatically charge. It's like getting a rapid charger for your phone, basically, is like instantaneous. So they making all kinds of boo-boos. It's just what it is. And then I kind of felt bad for Cisco in this episode too, because when Bart was talking about how Chester was the one that helped him with his homework, and how they were both, like Nora was like, "You're the smartest guy we know." It was like, wow. So you guys don't know Cisco? So Cisco's just gone. I'm like, just gone. And I'm like, I see what you did there. Frost had her moment of helping save Excess and Barry for like 5 seconds. I swear, Caitlin and Frost, they bore me in that show, but they've always been that way. Frost is a little bit more entertaining. Caitlin is just very, very boring to me. I don't know what you can really do with her from season to season. I mean, outside of her just working, as a biomedical engineer, I don't know what else you can do with this character because she is very, very boring to me. And so that's why I don't really bring her up, because her stuff is always the same. She's always analyzing somebody's biomarks, or she's coming up with a serum, or she's operating. It's all medical stuff. She has no life outside of Star Labs. So she's just a very one-dimensional character, and it's actually kind of sad that they were. I mean, if you're going to bring a villain in that's traditionally always been a villain, and then split the villain into two people, and then you basically have the human half be pretty much like dry toast. I mean, what's the point of keeping her around? I mean, you might as well just keep Frost and let Caitlin go off and find a life. I don't understand why we have Caitlin in this show. So it's weird to me, but yeah, so there was really nothing notable about Caitlin in this to me. I'm sorry. But yeah, so Bart's in a coma. They don't know when he's getting out of the coma because, of course, they took so long to get him away from the Godspeed clones. And then something else that was interesting is they decided to go and use one of Jay Garrick's. It's the same device he used in Crisis to try and show Barry how he was going to die, basically, and how Crisis was going to go. They used it on August, and August was waiting for him in his mind. So when Barry decides to go in his mind, they decide to go and try and get his memories back. Godspeed's in there, and he's like, yeah, I was waiting. I thought you would have gotten here sooner, but you're not an overachiever. And I always think that's so funny because the actual August Hart is a detective in the comics. He's not a scientist. So, like, it's just they change a lot of the, like I said, the villains are always reworked in the Arrowverse. They're never how they are in the actual comics. They don't have the same roles. I don't know if he's going to have the same motivation. I mean, they might just make him some power hungry character, and it will have anything to do with the fact that his brother was murdered. And I think that's interesting because the Flash has always been portrayed by people. And like in the comics with August, he literally got Speed, joined Team Flash, or their version of Team Flash, and was running around training all the other speedsters that were hit by this speed wave that gave them powers, and was helping defend the city. But he was moonlighting as Godspeed, and nobody knew he was Godspeed until, he started killing the other speedsters. And then Barry figured it out. But they were like best friends. So, I mean, they don't have any connection whatsoever in this. And it's so weird how they do this in the Arrowverse. Like, it just seems like it would have made so much more dramatic sense to have this guy come in and be very cool with Barry. They bond, they get along, they have this really cool relationship. And then it's revealed that he's Godspeed. That would have been cool, but, whatever. Whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, so Barry's in his mind trying to figure out what his end game is. And I honestly don't know what the CW is going to do because I don't think they're going to be comic accurate. So they're going to do their own thing, and who knows what his motivation is. But I guess we'll figure it out in part 2. Something else I thought was interesting is we still don't know what the heck is going on with Kristen Kramer, another comic book character who used to be the lab assistant with Barry back at CCPD. So that's what she was in the comics. In this one, they've completely redeveloped this character so she could be anything. But apparently, the real Kristen Kramer, as Adam said in the last episode, died in the explosion. So then, who in the hell is this woman? And Joe's kind of looking at her like, "Why didn't you tell the FBI what Adam said about you not being you?" You know, he's very suspicious about this, and so am I. What is this? Are you a meta? Are you a shapeshifter? Do you know what's happening? So I don't know. I don't know, guys. It's all weird. It is all weird. A lot of mystery going on, but Cisco being back was a highlight. I love seeing Jay Garrick. I'm actually very excited because I'm pretty sure he's going to be in Stargirl. So I'm very excited he's working more. Bart was actually pretty good. I like XS. She's pretty cool. Nobody really got on my nerves except for Barry. Here's another angry grandma moment in Flash. Barry was sitting there and they're talking about, oh, their kids are great, blah, blah. And then he takes like a turn. He looks at Iris. He's like, I feel like our family's just cursed. Everything about us is cursed. If you look at Iris's face when he said our family's just cursed, you know, bad things basically follow us. She looked at him like, man, please. So like, let me take these earrings off. I'm like, I'm gonna set these to the side. You don't lost your mind. I'm like, speak for yourself, Barry Bartholomew, because I'm not cursed, baby. Like, she really had that look on her face. Like, this fool has lost what little sense he had left. Like, so I was excited to see that reaction. But that's Barry. Barry, sometimes I feel like Barry needs to have a therapist for all of the trauma he hasn't dealt with. Maybe even consider medication, because he gets dark and brooding really quickly for somebody who's the paragon of love. I mean, it's crazy to me how fast he goes downhill. And he has to have other people continuously motivate him and talk him up and tell him it's fine. And, you know, Barry, you're the Flash, and this is this, and we're Team Flash, and we do this, and we do that. And I'm like, please get him a therapist. He needs his own version of someone that's like Dr. Phil, but actually good, because that whole thing, and Candace Patton can do those looks. She's got those looks down. She looked at him, and if you still have the episode, if you DVR'd it, just go back and look at it. She looked at him when he said their family was cursed, like, like, who are you talking to? Like, it was effing hilarious. But yeah, so that's what we got. Part 2 is going to go into Barry basically dealing with whatever's going on in August's head. Bart's still in a coma. The scene where Joe and Kristen are driving back into Central City, and then 2 of the Godspeed clones appear on that car. I was like, angry grandma, take the earrings out. I'm like, you on my car? I'm like, oh, leave this city for 5 minutes and it goes to crap. I'm like, guys. But as you can see, angry grandma plays a role in my sanity and watching Arrowverse series. So yeah, very, very, very interested to see where part 2 of this finale goes, because so far it's not bad. It's not, I mean, it's a lot better than the Mirrorverse. Let's put it that way, because I was not happy with how the Mirrorverse was played out at all. And honestly, some of the other very well-known, I guess, post-Silver Age, because they don't really do Silver Age at all in the Flash, storylines from the comics that are kind of reinvented for the Arrowverse. So, but yeah, and hopefully Bart and XS get to stay around a little bit longer, since they can't go home due to all the clones blocking their path, you know, basically from Speed Force. So there's that. All right, let me move up and see, because I know you guys are talking about the Flash. Okay, here we go. Here we go. Bart was so good. Yes, his actor for me was very charismatic, and I like how he talks to Barry. I think they did a really good casting job with him, so I was happy with him. Let's see here. So this is a different Nora. Is it a crisis change? That's the thing with Crisis on Infinite Poop. And we're talking about this when we talk about Superman and Lois in a second. I don't know what people remember, what got affected, what didn't get affected. It's such Crisis on Infinite Earth and the CW land is the biggest plot hole that they have ever written to date because they try and connect everything to Crisis, but none of it makes sense. So the rules for one show doesn't carry on to another show. It just does not make sense to me. So I mean, who knows what the heck's happening with Crisis? I mean, maybe Nora dying created another timeline, and this is the timeline they have now. I mean, for all we know, Dawn and Dawn could be around the corner because Thawne did name drop Dawn and Dawn. Well, he called Nora and Dawn in season 5, I believe it was, when Nora was in, or Excess was in, when she went to see him in prison. He said Dawn. She's like, Nora, no, Nora. He said, oh, well, that's also an option or something like that. So who knows? I like the new abilities of both Bart and Nora, and me too. Impulse has always been a cool character. I think we have got less of Candace Patton in the second half. So someone said that she got really lonely filming because she doesn't have any family out in Vancouver. So, and I think they're there. I want to say that they're 7 to 8, maybe even 9 months out of a year filming for the CW. So it's got to be exhausting. And if you're on your own, plus there's COVID, you can't have people around you. She probably had a little mini nervous breakdown. So that's probably why we didn't see her as much. The Arrowverse gave Maria a split personality to cope. I'm actually surprised that hasn't happened earlier. I fought it, man. But yeah, I got Angry Grandma now. Angry Grandma is who I need in my life to deal with this crap. She may not just be in the Arrowverse. We'll see what happens on Charmed on Friday. The scene where Bart was screaming in the air, was that scene in slow motion, or was Barry and Nora just stood there? Exactly. They were sitting there oh. I'm like, you guys are speedsters. Effing go over there and do something. Oh, my Lord. It was so funny. If Jonathan Braylock doesn't play Don or Don's Nora's, I'm going to be so mad. Yeah. I don't know if they're going to actually bring in Don. Because, I mean, again, we've got Nora. And Nora was never their child's name. So, and again, XS is not Iris's daughter and is not Barry's daughter. That's their grandkid. So is Impulse is supposed to be their grandson. So Caitlin looks miserable. It's because she's got nothing else to do. She had maybe 1 or 2 lines, a couple of lines in this. I think one was oh, it happened again. And I'm like, yes, Caitlin, that's what happens when people repeatedly have sex to create children. I'm like, there you go. That's literally it. The Arrowverse does feel like a bootleg version of the DCU. And that's saying a lot because the DCEU is not really doing that well, except some of their movies are good. Like Shazam was good. I actually like the original Wonder Woman movie. Aquaman was good. Man of Steel wasn't horrid. Now, Batman versus Superman, they could have kept that. They just could have kept that. I am excited to see what Aquaman 2 is going to be about. I am excited what's going to happen with Black Adam. There's a lot of things in DCU I am excited about. I am so looking forward to the new Suicide Squad movie. But, yeah, I don't know. They're not connected either. So, I mean, it's a thing. I suspect that Kramer could be a meta. I think she has to be. And what's interesting is that Adam is an immortal. So maybe she's an immortal too. Whatever gave him the abilities, maybe it happened to her too. Because they're both from the same reservation. So I don't know. I really want to know more information on how Adam got his abilities. Because he just realized he had them. And he couldn't die and he couldn't get hurt. Or permanently hurt, I guess. But I want to know if whatever got him also affected her. And then maybe she really is the real Kristen Kramer. And the reason that she didn't die is because she has the same thing that he has. That's my theory. I don't know if it's right. But that's what I think may be going on. Jay Garrett just got his speed back only to get jumped by the Godspeeds. I'm glad his wife, another version of Nora, or at least the actress, was because she was in the room and then she left. And I'm glad they waited for her to leave. Because, I mean, I don't want to have another version of her be killed violently in front of somebody. Chester is such a good character. I really like Chester. I really do. I like the charisma of him. I think he's a kind of person that can kind of get along with most people, but he also doesn't push himself on people. And he also does not take crap from them. And I think that is very important. Like, I love that line where he was like down on himself, and Barry, even when Barry didn't snap at him, but there's like an episode where he's more down on himself for not figuring stuff out. And, Iris is like, well, Cisco didn't get that trust overnight. He's like, yeah, but you guys are all bonded. I don't know you people. And I'm like, yeah, he just kind of told it like it is. And I have no problem with that. Let's see. Sorry, trying to make sure I didn't skip somebody. Okay. Let me go back to this one. It would make more sense if Wally was a person Bart cared about, because Jay doesn't make much sense to me, to be honest. Plus, Wally is way more understanding about impulsively urban Jay, in my opinion, or even Jesse, to be honest. I think it's because the actor who plays Wally does not have a desire to come back. Maybe he was not doing well. Because I'm going to be real with you. I kind of feel like the filming schedule for the Arrowverse shows is just very hard on a lot of people. And you'll probably see it if Superman and Lois continues, even with Stargirl. You're going to start seeing this grueling workload take its toll on these people. Because, this is year 7 for the Flash. I just kind of feel like, I don't know. I really feel like if they could have brought Wally back, if he would have made an appearance other than the cameo that he did last season, that maybe he would have had that reaction. They would have said, oh, I killed Wally. And then the beef, it would have been more like beef in the game for them, because that's Iris's brother, even though technically it's supposed to be her nephew. She's going to save her brother and want to save her brother. And Barry's going to want to save his adopted brother. Yeah, I know. And so there's more skin in the game for them. But I feel like, because they can't bring him back, they had to go with somebody. And so they chose Jay Garrick, and there's a good way of bringing Jay Garrick into the universe. But again, I've been having a lot of issues about how they're bringing people in. We're going to talk about Diggle in the next episode. And you may already know what I'm going to say about it, but I have questions and concerns over Diggle. I don't think Diggle has any other cameos coming up. So I got lots of questions about his role and his involvement in these shows, but we'll get to that too. Raphael, you had the same thought about Barry and Nora just then. It's true. I'm like, why are you just looking at this child? This is supposed to be your kid, and it's supposed to be her brother, and you're just like, oh. I'm like, oh. Whenever I hear Barry Allen say, I am the fastest man alive, I always want to say, you are the slowest thinking man alive. But that's really what I want to say, but whatever. I wish they bring Jesse. I wish Jesse would come back too, which is so interesting to me. So let me talk about parallels. So Jesse's actress went on to do that God Friended Me show, where Javicia Leslie was on, and now she's back. Now she's not out with the Arrowverse, but now Javicia Leslie is in the Arrowverse as Batwoman. It's like they swapped. Just like a lot of people probably don't know this. I only knew this because my spouse and me were watching crazy movies for River's birthday, and we watched this movie called Piranha 3 Double D. We have problems, guys. But I noticed that Sophie's actress and Caitlin's actress were both in this movie as friends. So they worked together long before their Arrowverse day. So it got me thinking how many other actors and actresses met each other like that. So, but I just think it was really interesting that the actress for Jesse went on to do God Friended Me and met Javicia Leslie, and then Javicia Leslie ended up becoming Batwoman. Small world, guys. Coma's run in the West Allen family. You're not wrong. You are not wrong. Rael Downs should play Jenny Ogden, in my opinion. I would love her to play Jenny. Oh my gosh. That will happen. That won't happen. That won't happen. Because they're not going to bring Dawn. There's not. I don't think they're going to run. They're not going to have excess. Their version of excess is going to be Nora. I don't know why. Angry Grandma would have become the Grandmaster of the Speed Force, the Strength Force, and the Sage Force at that instant. You don't disrespect Grandma. I'm telling you, when I saw them jump on the car, I was like, nah, let me take my imaginary earrings out and get this over with. Because, we don't play that. That's not what Grandma does. You don't do that with Grandma. I hope Chilblain will be in the finale. Yeah, we got to give Frost a love interest. I mean... No, don't forget the Still Force. Yeah, the Still Force is cool. I stood up and screamed when I saw Cisco show up. I was very excited about Cisco being in there, but I'm very confused because, you made a clean break, dude. And then I felt so bad for Camilla's actress because Camilla's actress was like, I'm out of a job now because he decided to quit. That's pretty sad, actually. He probably will be considering it's supposed to be an ultimate showdown. Yeah, I don't think Cisco's going home yet. That's right. Hell, Angry Grandma would have discovered new forces in the moment as well. Yep. I bet Danielle P gets paid more for playing two characters. She also directs some of the episodes. So yeah, but to be fair, I'm pretty sure she was friends with one of the producers when she first got hired for that show in the first place. So there's a lot of rumors. I say rumors because we're not there. I don't know what happened, but there's a lot of rumors that she got a lot of, got to be where she is status-wise in the Flash because of her connection. So it's rumors. I don't know. Hell, she would have full control of the source wall with little to no effort in that moment. People don't know Angry Granny. They don't know. Angry Grandma, she don't play. Probably not as much as Gramp, to be honest. But yeah, she's probably the second most paid, which is pretty sad considering she's not the leading lady. But yeah, I hope Reverse Flash comes back for the finale. Probably will. I think because there are different comic runs where Reverse Flash has had to work with the Flash and other speedsters in order to take down a bigger foe. So yeah, August Hart was born in 2021. So I wonder what role Crisis played to make that not entirely the case. Like I said, Crisis was such an F up. I can't. Batwoman starts filming on Monday, and oddly, I'm just not motivated to care. I'm like, yeah. Let's see. I feel like there should be an episode that dives into bipolar disorder that centers around Barry's mood swings. I think that would be a great way of actually correcting all the mistakes they have made in the CW across the board, especially in Charmed, where they make fun of people with have mental issues. Except for Maggie. Maggie has anxiety disorder, so that's real because it's the main character, but nobody else is allowed to have anything. So it's just stupid. They need to bring that therapist back. I like that therapist. I agree with you. The therapist is done with them, but she also charges them 4 times the amount that she would charge to her regular patient. So she's probably, she probably had to. Crisis on Infinite Pooh. That's what it was. Crisis on Infinite Bad Writing. I can't even call it bad writing. It's incomplete writing. It's just like everybody got like a paragraph and they all put it together, and that was the show. It was so stupid. Loki was so game changing. When is your review? It's coming. It is coming. My thing is, I had a doctor appointment that was supposed to be 1 hour and ended up being 6 hours because they are understaffed. So I didn't get to do my Loki review, but you're going to get it. It's going to be on crack. Don't worry. I really wanted to do it with Joe because we're doing another collaboration. It's just he's in Japan. It's so hard to get our timing right. So, but I'm going to see if I can get him to jump in on it tomorrow. But if it's going to be tomorrow. So tomorrow morning is when my review is coming out. If there are any more changes in the Arrowverse timeline, just watch Loki find out. If Loki was in it, it would be a heck of a lot better. I think Diggle will show up in Supergirl. Yeah. He needs to, because we'll get to that in a second. I believe the Diggle cameos are out of order because it seems like the order is supposed to be Superman and Lois, Batwoman, Flash, and then Supergirl. Something is wrong with how they're doing these Diggle, because what he said in the Flash, like, I know that Gotham, it should have been Gotham first because he talks about going to see the neurologist. And he does mention in the Flash that he saw a Gotham neurologist and they cleared him. So I know that the Flash definitely came after the Gotham cameo. So that was in order. The Legends of Tomorrow, he was a completely different person. So I don't think they're out of order. I just think that they're effing up. So if he's not in Supergirl and they don't have some clarification on what is actually happening to him with this Green Lantern stuff, and we'll get to, again, I'm going to get to that in a minute. It's weird. I've got to go. Okay, Ryan, thank you for joining. Maybe they can go to a therapist Lois went to. And the therapist says she charged him by the quarter hour. I was like, as well as she should. Yeah, they kept leaving. All right. So let's jump into Superman and Lois, season 1, episode 12, Through the Valley of Death. So right now, Superman is fighting very hard because he's trapped in Talro, or Morgan Edge's lair, with his vision of his dad. And they're trying to basically take him and break him of his humanity and make him be a good little Kryptonian evil soldier, injustice, basically. And so Clark keeps trying to reason with him. And he's like, you're my brother, blah, blah, blah. And Morgan's like, I'm not your brother. You chose them over us, and blah, blah, blah. So, Morgan Edge is very Brightburn as well. He's very screwed up. It's obvious, but look at his daddy. Of course he's screwed up. And then when he came to Earth, they literally tried to kill him. So, of course, 1,000,000,000%, he's messed up. He hates humanity. He hates himself, and he hates his daddy. That's literally Morgan Edge's problem. He's mentally disturbed. But Clark is trying to resist, and he keeps trying to resist. At the same time, Lois she's already called, John, and told him, what you said was going to happen with Superman, it's already happening. And then he shows up, and John's like, all right, I'm just gonna kill him. I'm like, and she's like, no, we got to rescue him. He's like, what part of me, or what part of my image and who me as a person thought that I was going to rescue this man? I'm like, I've dedicated my life to killing this man. I'm like, that makes perfect sense. And that, in some regards, in this episode, John was acting like angry grandma, but it is what it is. I will tell you this. So, side story, Lana's family, like Kyle and Lana and them, are really dealing with some stuff. And the beginning of the show, I was trying to figure out where the youngest daughter was, because I thought they were going to pull like a Family Matters thing where Judy went up the stairs and never came back. I'm like, their young daughter's just gone. But then she came back later in the episode, so I was like, okay. And they didn't do it, because I was really like, because Lana kept saying, we're a family. And I'm like, okay, it's you, Sarah, and then we got the dad, but where in the heck is the youngest girl? And I'm like, what? Where is she? They act like she does not exist. So, yeah. So she must have been on some trip somewhere. And they probably said something about it and I missed it. But I was really happy that child came home. So I'm putting it out there. But what got me about this episode was that all of these people that got recruited by Morgan Edge are the ones that are absolutely upset with Lana and Kyle for bringing Morgan Edge into the town. And my problem with this is that when Morgan Edge was coming in talking about jobs and promising increase in economy and your town being saved, everybody was like, yay, gung ho, gung ho. They made up their own mind. Lois was literally telling them from the moment that girl got into that town and saw Morgan Edge, this man is trash. And everybody in town was like, nah, we don't trust you. This is our town meeting, and this is our town, and they're gonna bring us jobs. Well, when all of this stuff hit the fan, instead of them blaming themselves for all saying, well, you know what, we trusted this idiot, we trusted this a-hole, they're all blaming Kyle and Lana's family. And I'm like, that is bull crap. I mean, just like Emily's like, this is your fault. No, Lana told you she couldn't help you. She tried to save you. She tried to stop you. You went and met with Morgan Edge any damn way. That was your fault. You took that job on your own. Lana didn't recruit you. So I thought it was very interesting how fast everybody turned on this family. And I mean, I don't know if this is an example of small town life, because I mean, I'm a city girl. I've always lived in the city, so I don't know about small towns, but I mean, Smallville, man. Nope. And then they tagged their house. These people have lived in Smallville their whole lives, and they're tagging their house. And Kyle was like ready to fight, and Lana was like, no, we'll just fix the window. We're going to bond more as a family. But they know that that's not going to last. They're eventually, Sarah's going to hear it at school. Kyle's going to eventually have to go back to work. Lana's going to have to try and go back to the bank because she doesn't work for Morgan Edge anymore. Like, their lives are going to be very hard. And I feel extremely bad for, especially since Lana was literally trying to do the right thing by helping Lois. Yes, Kyle was being a bonehead and not listening, but I feel so bad for Lana because, like, Lana, I mean, and I don't even know why. When Emily's, husband went and pointed his finger, and your grandma, I'm like, hold up. I'm gonna tell your ass something. I'm like, you don't point at me. I'm like, you are what we call an adult. You make your own decisions. Don't be trying to brush your decision-making problems off on other people. Nobody told you to take that job. Nobody told her to take that job. You did that because you guys were desperate and she needed a break. And so she looked at this amazing gift horse in the mouth, even though they told her she had to go get in this MRI-like machine and be experimented on. Your wife signed that paper, baby. That is not, Lana didn't hold her hand and force her with the pen to sign that. So, I mean, angry grandma came out in that scene. I was like, man, Lost, they loving mine. So yeah, I was in my feelings about how they were treating Lana's family. Cause I mean, honestly, they go through a lot of crap on their own. So I was really annoyed by the fact that everybody in Smallville is turning on them. So that's happening. And then we got the whole thing. I'm going to tell you guys, I've been saying this from day one. Eventually, I feel like Jonathan's going to get powers. Because again, not only is he Prime Superboy in the comics, he acts like Prime Superboy in this show. He's the one that went and talked to John when John was talking about killing his dad. He's the one that was talking Jordan up so that he could try and practice listening for his dad with his super hearing. When Jordan was sitting in there in the corner, like, I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. I got these powers. They just suck. I got my butt handed to me by Morgan Edge. I couldn't do anything. He blasted me with heat vision. I mean, he was literally spiraling down because Jordan is a lot like Barry Allen in that way. And Jonathan was like, no, you got this. You can do this. I believe in you. Fine, Dad. And going to talk to John saying, I see everything that you've lost. And I saw that you were, you had a daughter named Natalie. And I see that you were a good dad. Well, I have a good dad too. And I just wanted you to know the man you're about to kill. And I'm like, that's Jonathan. Jonathan is cool. So I had a lot of good gold star moments for Jonathan Kent in this episode. And Lois was fighting like hell. Like, I did not think she was going to tell John that her husband was Superman, but she did. Last ditch effort to get him to stop. And he was like, well, that doesn't change anything. I'm still gonna kill his ass. I'm like, because he's an angry grandma too. Like, I mean, you gotta let the angry grandma come to you. You can't just tell the angry grandma what to do. So Steel wasn't having it. He was in his moment. He was Steel at that moment. Although I will say I love his Steel. Like, I love the suit. I love the hammer, and I need him to come back to help in future episodes as an ally. I love Steel. So no problem with Steel. I want to know why he's trying to reconnect with this Earth's version of his sister. I'm very curious about that. Why is he doing that? Because it was like a little millisecond of him trying to find a parking spot and go talk to her. And then Lois calls. I would have loved to know what that was about. So, and we did get to see the missile that he was using that's supposed to basically render all, I guess, Kryptonian powers inert. They can't use their abilities, and it weakens them enough to kill them. That's what he was using on his Earth's Kal-El, but it ended up shifting him through time. Now, I don't know if this is supposed to be during Crisis as well. I mean, I don't think so, but it looked like a red wormhole sucked him in through time, and that's how he ended up there. And I don't know what that's about. Like, even with, like, how do we know that his daughter is dead? So there's a lot that I don't understand about that entire thing. Because, I mean, as far as I know, his daughter was still alive. He's the one that left and said he was going to come back. So unless there's something we didn't see in the flashbacks, I don't understand how he lost his daughter. We saw Lois get killed, his Lois, but I don't know how the daughter died, if she died. Or maybe he's just saying that because he's now in a different world and he can't get back to her. I don't know. It's weird. But it just had me thinking because I was very confused about that whole thing. So the DOD, Sam is being himself. Sam is like, literally like, I've got all these weapons coming, and I mean, I'm willing to take out, Superman. And I thought it was like so messed up. He like hugs his daughter. It's like, oh, pumpkin. And yeah, I'm going to kill your husband behind her back, basically. And the only reason, because he was talking about, he was gathering all of his weapons from, Project 7734. just in case something happens. Diggle brings a weapon, or basically everything that is needed by John, like the missile that he's going to use to basically take away Kal-El's powers. And potentially Morgan Edge. Diggle brings it because they call Argus and they call Lila, and Lila sent Diggle down. And when Diggle came, her and Lois like see each other and they hug each other, which means they have memories of Crisis, but they don't have memories of her having one damn baby. I still don't understand this, guys. I don't understand how you can remember being together, fighting side by side, and not remember that you had one solo child. It doesn't make sense, but that's again a repercussion of Crisis of Infinite Poop. So Diggle, at this point, I am confused because he told Barry that he has run far enough. He's got to deal with this. He couldn't stay in Central City to help them deal with the Godspeed problem and the clone problem because he put something off far too long. And then he goes to Smallville and delivers this weapon. And I'm like, did you deal with the problem? What the hell happened? I am so confused because if this is out of order between the Flash and Superman and Lois, that is stupid because they should have planned that better. That doesn't make any sense. You can't go from I have my own mission to dropping in Smallville and bringing a weapon of mass destruction, basically. And then saying things like, you don't leave heroes behind. I'm tired of dealing with glowing boxes and stuff like that. And I'm like, where are you going with this Diggle stuff? Because if this is really his last cameo, this was completely effing pointless. I mean, I don't understand why he was in all these shows. So I'm confused on what they're doing with him. Unless he's going to pop up as a Green Lantern and Stargirl, or they're going to do something with him as Green Lantern in somebody's show going forward. Why in the hell are you bringing us Diggle and teasing us with this? Because actually, for all of us fans who really wanted him to be John Stewart, who really wanted him to be Green Lantern, it's literally like you're spitting in your fans' faces. So I'm very confused on what the heck's happening. And I mean, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they'll deal with this in Supergirl. But if he makes a cameo in Supergirl and nothing gets resolved, and he's not in Stargirl or any other show as even talking about being Lantern, then what is the effing point? So that's how I feel about that. So, and my feelings about it. And besides that, Diggle is like literally a soldier. He could have been instrumental other than telling Sam, I would never brought this to you if I knew how you were going to use it. And then doing his speech about not leaving heroes behind. I hope you make the right choice. And then he leaves. And I'm like, angry grandma. But angry grandma right now is just smacking all the executives at CW because it's just stupid. So yeah, I have issues with that whole thing. All right. So long story short, John goes and fights Kal-El, who's finally given in and is he's like baby Injustice Superman. He's not complete Injustice Superman. He's baby Injustice Superman. And so he goes to fight, and then of course Lois is like, no, don't use the missile thing on him because you need to save her from Morgan Edge. And he's like, he's still in there. You've got to, you have to bring him out. You have to save him. And John's like initially getting his butt kicked, but then he uses his hammer and then knocks Superman around. And he's like, you need to fight. I know you're in there. And then he takes his helmet off. And I'm like, I'm really glad that Superman wasn't in Justice Superman, because as soon as you saw that helmet come off, he just would have used his heat ray vision and just like melted your eyeballs out of your head. So I'm really glad that that's not what went down. And that literally Superman / Clark having like literally forcing memories of Lois and them getting married, them having the boys when they were young, the boys when they're older, like all of his family memories are just flashing back. Oddly, none of Martha and Jonathan Kent, which is kind of sad, but just his family, his immediate family right now. But the power of loving his family allowed him to break free from the Zod programming they were trying to program him with. And he ended up, basically teaming up with Steel and taking on Morgan Edge, and they flew into space. And it was really interesting because we actually got to see Steel finally use that missile, and then he went down to Earth. And then Morgan Edge was like, you were my brother. We could have been great. And then you just see Superman pop him. And then you see Lois looking like, like, she had this really satisfied look like, which was funny because that was also an angry grandma, moment. But what gets me is how willing Sam was to just take Superman out at like any time. And he keeps saying, oh, I'm going to trust you. I should have more faith in you. But I mean, you do this all the time. You're not going to trust him because Sam is shady as hell. So, I mean, of course, that's his job. He's shady. He was shady in the comics. He's shady in this. He is played expertly well. So there's no difference between the Sam in this and the Sam we see in the comic books. So it's a thing. But the DOD is leaving Smallville. So I guess we'll see Sam whenever Superman gets called to help whatever. And they're supposed to get back to their normal lives. But I did see in the trailer that basically the feeling of Superman being able to let loose his powers, it became kind of addictive for him. And so you see him talk about it with Lois. You also see him go see Morgan Edge in prison where they're holding him. And he is like, basically Morgan's like, you're like me. And for Clark to say, I really liked how that felt, that is actually very problematic. So, but that tells you right now, and I will stand by this, the Superman we have in the Arrowverse is very close to the Injustice Superman, because if something were to happen to Lois and something were to happen to the boys, I could see him turning, because they're literally the only thing keeping him attached to humanity. And I think that he would turn that off. And yeah, it will be a thing. And I mean, there's only so many times I can let angry grandma out. So, I mean, I got to hold her in because she's out with Diggle right now. She's like, yeah, and then lost your mind, take the earrings out. She's out. She literally was losing her mind when those freaking Godspeed clones were standing on Joe and Christine Kramer's car. You know how much detailing costs? No, that would be angry grandma. You want to save Central City? Let them mess with grandma's car. Pick them damn earrings out. I'm like, she gonna whoop all those. She'll beat one clone with the other clone. I'm like, you don't mess with angry grandma. So I'm just, it's just a thing, guys. It is a thing. All right. So let's scroll up. We're gonna scroll up so we can talk about Superman and Lois. Diggle. I think Diggle will show up in Supergirl. I hope so. I don't remember if Supergirl was on the list. I'm gonna have to go back and look, because if not, there's just no point. Okay. I believe that Diggle cameos are out of order because it seems like the other is supposed to be Superman and Lois, Superman, Lois, Batwoman, Flash, and then Supergirl. I could see technically Superman and Lois being before Batwoman, but Batwoman and Flash definitely followed each other because of him, just because he clarified that he saw a neurologist in Gotham, and that's why he was in Gotham. Now, if it's not, and it's actually Batwoman, the Flash, and then Superman and Lois, and then Supergirl, I don't know what's going to happen because I mean, I kind of feel like where they left off on the Flash would have been a great place to have him do that in Superman and Lois. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to have a freak out and have all of these headaches and, all this infinite stuff happening, what better way to talk about something that alien than to an actual freaking alien or a Kryptonian saying, hey, I'm getting this stuff. This stuff is happening. That to me, that just seems like it would be, I don't know. For me, it just seems like it would be something that he would have a lot in common technically with Clark. Only that he has a family and he has to choose another destiny to help people with all of these powers, and then still balance his life out. I think that would be something that he would definitely have to talk with more with Kal-El about than anyone else. But I don't know. Like I said, this is just me projecting because it just doesn't make any damn. I mean, there's so many ways they could have written this, and it's like the slow burn you don't need in your life. It's so annoying. Okay, let me scroll down. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Clearly, Laura is the one that looks, because that is horrid to say the least. Jor-El B. lowly servant looks compared to Laura's ex. Laura, yeah. Oh, and I forgot that Leslie Laura is still in the wind too. They don't know where she is, so that's gonna be interesting. Which means that she's gonna break She's probably going to break Morgan Edge out of jail. Smallville recruiting and paying for bad decisions. I feel like there's some commentary there. I mean, I just think it's so messed up how quickly that entire town turned on them. They turned like they were like, we've lived here our whole life. That is so messed up. I feel bad for Lana because that woman blamed Lana even though Lana didn't even recommend her. Yeah, she tried to keep her off that list. People don't see stuff. But what always kills me, which is why you have to develop people like Angry Grandma, you'll watch people go off on another character and the character will just take it and not even try and defend themselves with actual facts. Like, no, I worked undercover to try and stop all this from happening. You guys just kept coming, even though I told you there was no job for you. You went behind my back and met with this man anyway. That's on you. Don't be pointing fingers at me. Look, Lana needs to borrow Angry Grandma, have a town meeting, have Angry Grandma on there. Angry Grandma is crazier than Medea. So I had that town straight in an hour. At least the town attacking the Cushings brought them closer together. True. That is true. I hope John and Jordan share a twin Kryptonian power in the future. I need Jonathan to have powers because, yes, it's hard for Lois being human. But I mean, imagine being born the son of Superman and inheriting nothing from him. That is very messed up. So I really, really need for him not to be that one child that, like, look at an X-Men, look at Cannonball and all the other Guthries. How it's like their mom just popped out one mutant after the other. I feel like Lois Lane's genetics should have allowed for Superman to overpower her a little bit in the twins and have both of them have powers. I mean, it could have been like an even split. One can fly and one has super hearing and one has super breath and one has heat vision. You know, they could have split that and that would have been really cool. Whatever. Who is John's sister in the comics? What do you mean, like Jonathan Kent's sister? I'm confused. But yeah, let me know who you're talking about. I'm sorry, because I'm confused. Like, sorry. I got a little bit in my review in this, and so there's two Johns in this, so I need to know who we're talking about. I know that in the comics, so John Henry has a sister who is the mother of Nat. And I can't remember her name right now. But if you're talking about that, yeah, she's the mother of Nat, because technically Nat is not his daughter in the comics, it's his niece. So her mom, basically. Probably Natasha's mom in the comics. Yeah, I've been calling her Natalie again today. I got Natalie on the brain, guys. I don't know why I'm doing that, but Nat, we're calling her Nat. But yeah, she is the mother of Nat. And or I guess, as we all know, the second Steel, among other things. And she's also in Legion. When John told Lois you called the wrong person, I was like, you should have called Kara. They don't call Kara. They can't call Kara. I don't know why. Actually, why didn't she call Kara? Why did she call Martian Manhunter? Obviously, she knows him because she remembers Diggle. Hell, call Black Lightning. Call somebody from Crisis. Oh, God, don't make me start, guys. Don't make me start. Make me start. I wondered how he was going to look without the helmet. Yeah, I was like, when John took the helmet off, I was like, this man's brave. Like, this man's brave. I hope we get Kara because I want to see how she looks in denim and how she looks as a farm girl. Yeah, Melissa, is it Benoist? She is adorable. I hope Kara shows up because I'm wondering if she could pull off denim. Wasn't she in Glee? I'm pretty sure she wore denim in Glee. It's been a minute. Have you seen the Stargirl season 2 poster? It looks great. I haven't yet. I need to check that out. What's funny about Angry Grandma is that she's probably one of the crazy Jane split personalities. Angry Granny, man. Angry Grandma is cool. I'm sorry. I had to develop her. You think she's bad now. I'm telling you. Let me not like Charmed on Friday. You're going to see Angry Grandma. Crazy Jane would be way too OP if that were the case. She is OP. She's like Angry Grandma is the Super Saiyan. People just don't realize it. She's a super Saiyan. Kara would be the only one able to take on Injustice Superman if Clark's wife and twin sons turn. Yeah, you know what? I actually agree with that. And I really feel like there is a literally her mom is still alive. They've established her mother's alive now. I'm sure that a lot of the Kryptonians are still alive. But bring them, bring all of the Krypton. Why are you trying to bring a new Krypton when you got a whole planet full of Kryptonians? Like, it don't make that sense. Oh, this is another not connected. But no, because they're on Prime Earth, so that doesn't make any sense. And like I said, Crisis messed everything up. It made bad writing worse because it didn't even have. It's not even connected. Like none of the stories are connected. It's so stupid. Oh, it makes my head hurt. The new Gen Heroes team roster across Arrowverse is looking pretty good so far. If they pull most of the Infinity Inc. Sorry. Well, that's what they are. Stargirl's people are actually Infinity Inc. people, but they put them in Justice Society of America and Stars and Stripes. But they're supposed to be Infinity Inc. people. So I can't, I'm trying to stop doing that, but that is what I know them from in the comics. And I'm sorry. So Infinity Inc. members being the new Justice League members makes perfect sense because technically the Infinity Inc. Heroes were like the training ground for, so think New Justice for Justice, the Justice Society of America and Justice League. So I would love that. I would love them to pull all kinds of heroes out of Stargirl's universe. Because Stargirl so far has been done very well as far as I'm concerned. No, it's not completely comic accurate, but it is very close, and it doesn't have to be. It just has to be a story that makes sense. And so I really like what they're doing with it. I love that Sylvester's not dead, which means we still can have Infinity Inc. There's a lot going on with that, so I'm so excited for season 2 of Stargirl. I don't think I'm going to have to use Angry Grandma a lot. And we're going to get Jakeem and Thunder, and I'm very happy with that too. They got they got a lot going on. We saw Jade. I am super excited for that. Let's see. I mean, Crazy Jane has like 65 different personalities, so I would assume one is a grandma because she has personalities of all ages, ranges, and even different orientations. Now, see, everyone's assuming that Angry Grandma is a personality. She's an entity. Like, so if Diggle does not become GL, then what exactly is going on? Because this stream is crashed. I don't know what's going on with Diggle, because Diggle, the only clarification we have gotten that we're even dealing with Green Lantern outside of us seeing the series finale of Arrow and seeing him find the box with the green light in it is Cecile saying when she touched him, what I'm feeling is something infinite, which we know goes hand in hand with the League, basically Green Lantern Corp. And him saying that even in this episode, he says basically forget shining boxes, and all that stuff. And it's like he's saying it in so many words that he got that ring and he hasn't done anything about it. And so the ring is talking to him and basically the entire entire Green Lantern Corps is communicating with him because he's not accepting the ring. But I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. So I don't know. Will you be reviewing Black Widow? I'm going to have Joe's Geek Show talk about Black Widow because I have not watched it. I don't have a desire to watch Black Widow's movie. I know, guys. I am one of those honest reviewers. I only review what I watch, and I know I'm not going to watch that movie. I've had no desire, although if they made a Black Widow sequel with the actress who plays Yelena, because I love the clips I've seen her in, I would watch that. But I just never really cared for Scarlett Johansson's Widow. I just haven't. So it's not something, I don't look at it and I'm like, I need to see this movie. It's not like Loki. It's not like any of the MCU properties. I just don't care. I just don't care. And then I know that's sad, but I can't. I tried. I was going to rent it on Disney Plus. I couldn't bring myself to do it because I know I'd be bored. I didn't want to do it. Lois could have called Anissa or even Jen. They can't call it. Well, no, she doesn't know about Anissa and Jen because they, even though they are very powerful, were excluded from Crisis because, they needed people that didn't make sense at all. I'm just happy the Charm season 3 hit Netflix on the 24th, day before my birthday. Wow, you can go and watch it back to back. Wouldn't the Legends find out if Clark goes on a rampage? The Legends, they didn't even know that the DEO was destroyed in Supergirl. So, I mean, they knew it like later when Ava was trying to figure out where Sarah was. They're like, oh, the DO is destroyed. Like, I don't know what is happening in Legends that they don't get updates on the rest of the Arrowverse. But quite frankly, it kind of makes me happy because I don't want them intertwined with them. I don't want their stories affected by Arrowverse stuff. So it's a thing. The totems would have an effect on Injustice Superman because the totems are literally magic. Yeah, that's true. So Zari could probably throw Superman around like a rag doll with her powers. Yeah, I mean, because he does have a weakness for magic, as well as kryptonite. So you're right. I would love to see Zatanna and Constantine versus Superman because that would be an interesting fight. Superman should have called Abby from Charmed and Motherland Port Salem to fight all the bad guys. Yeah. You're free not watch Black Widow, but for what it's worth, I really liked it. I never liked how they took away Natasha's Russian accent in the MCU, though. Yeah. It's just like when Halle Berry was Storm and how she had an African accent for like 10 minutes. And then, what's his name? I forgot his name, who played Gambit in the horrible Wolverine movie. Had a Cajun accent every other scene. Like for like 5 minutes. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. And from what I saw in the clips, Yelena's actress had a Russian accent the entire time. Everybody else was doing a Russian accent, but Natasha never did it. And like, it doesn't make sense. So the only thing I can think of is that Natasha didn't know how to do it. That's what I think is happening, but I don't know. Just like whenever I would see her in scenes with Wanda, they're both supposed to speak Russian and they don't speak Russian to each other. So it's a thing. Hi, Blue. How are you? I hope a lot crosses over with the charm that Astra interacts with them the most, and Vera Vaughn's teach her how to not only control but also master her growing witch powers. Yeah, Friday is going to be an interesting day for Charm. So we're going to have our after show on Friday, and hopefully I will not be mad. I mean, you'll know. You will know. you will know. But I'm trying to keep an open mind. Maybe this will be a wonderful episode. At the very least, maybe we'll figure out what the hell's going on with Mel's pregnancy and this baby. But this season, I swear, has been hit or miss for me. There have been a few episodes that have been really good. Not entirely, but very, been pretty good. And then some I was like, is this even the same series? I don't understand what's happening. If I was going to do an actual study on bipolar, it would literally be on the theme of Charmed season 3, because they make decisions and they go back and forth and back and forth. They change their mind like the wind. I hate you. No, I like you. You're my friend and you're very smart. No, you're such an evil person. And like, I just like, you know what? I can't do this. So yeah, I'm very curious to see how this season's going to end, but we will see. But as for all of the other reviews, like I said, Loki will be coming in the morning. Hopefully I'll be able to get Joe to do it with me, but if not, it'll just be me. And then of course we will have Charmed on Friday. I still have to do Kung Fu as well, because Kung Fu comes on the night, and this is not the season finale. I think this is 1 or 2 episodes before it, but don't quote me on that. I have to go back and look. I'm not sure. But we'll see. And then I know Roswell, New Mexico is starting over again. I'm trying to figure out if I'm going to be reviewing it, because I got put off by the orgies, or not really orgy. It was more like the threesome of 3 of the characters that was just random and out of nowhere and just like made no sense. And so I'm just kind of like all over the place with that. So I don't know. But all right, guys, I know you're still making comments and stuff. What I need you to do is, if I don't answer anything that you said, please put it in the comments so I can answer it later. We are almost to an hour and a half. And hopefully all of the stuff that happened to Arrowverse this week will resolve itself next week, even though technically Superman and Lois kind of had a resolution. Legends of Tomorrow, that's just on crack. The Flash, though, yeah, I'm really interested to see what they do with that next week, because they got a lot of different things happening in the Flash simultaneously that really needs to be figured out. So yeah, I am looking forward to it, and I will post my Loki time, because it will be a live stream in the morning. So I'm on Central Standard Time, so more likely it will be between 10 and 11. my time, because I don't have a doctor's appointment tomorrow. So we should be good to go. So unless the storm knocks out my power, we will be having our stream tomorrow. And then we will discuss everything, the series finale of Loki. But until then, guys, you have a very good night. If it is night for you, if it is day, have a very good day. And I will see you in the next stream.